Hi everyone, it's Melissa. Welcome back to another Friday Reads and other things that I want to talk about. Before I get talking about anything, I should address the fact that I got all my hair cut off. In my last Friday Reads, I was sharing my dilemma of wanting to buzz my hair, but being a little bit afraid to do that. And anyway, I did get it cut. I didn't get it buzzed all the way. I left a little bit on top, but it's very short, and I'm never going back to having hair any longer than this. I just think with my hair thinning the way it is, this is it for me. You can tell that because I didn't want to go for the full buzz quite yet, I did want to baby step it, that there's some length on top here where it's still like my old color, the dyed hair. But once that's gone, then it'll look a little bit better, because right now I have this like two-tone hair, but I am like pretty much all gray now, which I also enjoy because my natural color, well, I guess my natural color now was gray, but before I went gray, I didn't like my natural color. I much prefer gray hair. So I'm actually quite happy that I'm basically all gray now because I like it better. So there we go. I finally cut all my hair off, and probably I'll probably keep it this length for a while, but at some point I'll probably buzz the top of it too. And yeah, so that's my little personal update. I am basically going to make this Friday Reads a January wrap up with just a couple other little things thrown in at the end. So the first book I finished in January was The Bear and the Nightingale. I've mentioned this briefly in another video, but essentially I thought it was okay, but everyone I'd seen talk about it just really loved it, and I just didn't have that experience. So it is set in Russia. I forget what time period. It's like historical fiction with some folklore and magic thrown in there. And it follows a young girl, and she's, I don't know if you'd call her a witch. She has some abilities, some magic, perhaps. And I liked those kind of magical, witchy young girl with potentially powers or magic kind of vibe. I liked that. I really liked the setting and the atmosphere. That was by far my favorite part. And another thing that I thought was kind of interesting was the conversation, I guess, about religion and tradition. So in the book, this girl, she lives in rural Russia. So her community kind of pays homage, I guess, to the like old gods and like house spirits and that kind of stuff. But then as things change and the church kind of starts getting into smaller communities and a new priest comes into the community, and he's very afraid of this community. He's afraid of the way that they essentially worship what he and others view more as like demons or false gods or that kind of thing. And so there's really this play on tradition and religion and kind of like fear-based religion. And I thought that was pretty interesting. But what really made me not like the book as much at all is how messy it was. There were a lot of seemingly important plot points or things that happened that were complete dead ends. So that was really frustrating. There was a lot of messiness surrounding the folklore. I was often confused because the author would be talking about a specific part of folklore, a specific figure, and then later on, I would think she was talking about the same figure in folklore. But then as I would be reading like an entire, like multiple chapters, I'd realize, oh wait, though, that's not the same legend she's talking about, or the same. Anyway, it was just very messy, very confusing. I don't think, while I liked the folklore in it, I only liked the parts that I could really get a handle on. It was just not very clear who was who, and yeah, messy is the best word I have to describe it. So it was okay. The other thing I finished was Take a Hint, Dani Brown by Talia Hibbert, and I really, really liked this. I think I still prefer Get a Life Chloe Brown a little bit better, but not much. And this was sweet, also steamy. A lot of the great like romance parts like were really wrapped up in the anticipation of when are they finally going to have sex, because there's a lot of like leading up to that moment, and I found that anticipation very satisfying. So I thought the pacing was great. I thought the characters were pretty believable. It was also refreshing to have a woman character who was the one who was a commitment phobe and very like just not into romance, and she's just looking for a friend with benefits. She's not looking for a relationship. And of course Dani's love interest Zaf is the romantic one, the sappy one, the one who wants a relationship. They end up fake dating, which it feels like that would be a very tired trope that is easy to not execute well. But I think it pulled it off here. It made sense the way that played out. The only things I really didn't like were I thought Zaf was a bit too good for her, honestly. I felt like he was putting more into everything than she was. And the author tries to hint at her being like a supportive person and tries to throw that in there so she's not just like a taker, that she's also like giving something. But it still did feel unbalanced to me in that way. And when the conflict moment happens, I thought that was not really believable in my opinion, but overall I really liked it. The next book that I read was Equal Rites by Terry Pratchett. So this is the third Discworld novel. I've read the first two. I'm reading them chronologically, even though you don't have to. And I really liked this. I think I still prefer the first two, which if you talk to people who read more Discworld, they'll say that the first two are like the weakest. But I really like the Rincewind books. Rincewind's the wizard in the first couple of books. Anyway, I still really like this. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I enjoyed it. It's all about like gender roles and gender norms and subverting those and how they're kind of absurd. So it starts when a wizard comes to this remote community and he has this like magical staff and he wants to basically bequeath it. He realizes he's dying and he wants to bequeath it to the 8th son of an 8th son, because 8 sons of 8 sons traditionally become wizards. And he finds an 8th son who is about to have an 8th. So he has 7 sons and his wife is like giving birth at that moment. So the baby's born, he bequeaths the staff before he realizes, because then he dies, before he can realize it's a daughter and not a son. And so this is all about the daughter having these like magical powers, but like they don't want to let her into the like wizarding university. So it's a lot of fun, and I kind of love the mix of like a important topic about gender norms, but also with the silliness of the Discworld universe. I laughed out loud several times. I thought it was a lot of fun. The last book I finished in January was The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. I'm not going to say much about this because I have a lot of thoughts about this book that I still haven't processed and figured out exactly what I think. I have very mixed feelings about this book. So I think I'm going to wait, kind of write out some things I'm thinking, and do an entire review just on that book. But this is the first in a trilogy. It's adult fantasy, heavily based on real history of war in China. And the first section I thought was great. The last section / sections, not so much. I thought the main character's development was really poorly handled, and the characterization wasn't very good. And I had some other problems with it, which is a real shame because I thought the first part of this book was so great. So I'm going to do an entire separate review on that. So those are the 4 books I read in January. At the beginning of February, I finished Goldeline by Cajoleas, and I will wrap this up for my February wrap up at some point. Also mixed feelings about this one. I thought it was okay, but I will save that for another time. And I am currently reading Regeneration by Pat Barker. This is a World War I fiction, written in the 80s or 90s, I think it was. And I'm reading this because Jen the Librarian is hosting a read-along of this trilogy. So this is the first in a trilogy, and I'm only about 30 pages in. Really liking it so far. It starts with, you're kind of at an institution, like a psychiatric institution, where we're following the psychiatrist there who's seeing different soldiers who are patients there. And we're also following a young soldier who just got sent there because he wrote this declaration basically condemning the war. And so yeah, it's a really interesting start. I have no idea where it's going. We've only just kind of gotten introduced to a few characters, but really liking that so far. Those are all of the books I've read or I'm currently reading. Oh no, they're not. I just started reading another book. I don't have it here. For the BookTube prize. So I am judging the first round, which is very exciting. I'm very happy, but also it means I have to change some plans for February because I am co-hosting the library Love Readathon starting next week. It runs for 2 weeks, February 6th to 19th. And I had a lot of grand plans for a lot of reading during those 2 weeks. And I'm still obviously going to participate because I'm helping to host it. However, I'm not going to be able to participate in the way I had wanted to because of the reading I'll have to do for the BookTube prize. We do have February and March to read the books for the BookTube prize, but I'm a slow reader, so I didn't want to like smush them all into March or anything. I wanted to give myself time. So I will, I'm going to link all the hosts below as well in case you want to participate. And I'm probably going to do at least one vlog during, sometime during those 2 weeks. However, it's going to look a little different than I imagined, but that's okay. And what else? What else do I want to tell you? Oh, a video that I marked down that I wanted to mention that came out, I think it was early this week, was a video put out by bookslikewhoa, and I thought it was great, so I will link it below. But she had put out, I think the name of the video was like The Wellness Aesthetic or something like that. She had put out a poll, just like a very informal poll about the word, like a word association when you think of the word wellness. And she has this whole basically video essay about wellness and kind of the connotations surrounding wellness and like social media and wellness and how it fits into like diet culture, but also like other things. Anyway, I thought it was a really interesting video and I think you should check it out. So I'm going to post that below. Anything else? I was going to take my Friday reads as opportunities to update also on the movies I've been watching because, again, I think it was my last Friday reads where I had mentioned that I wanted to make an effort to watch new to me movies because I tend to just rewatch my favorite movies over and over again. And I have read none of the movies I have watched none of the movies on that list. So I have nothing to report. Although I have been enjoying watching some Mystery Science Theater 3000. Does that count as watching movies? Probably not, because that's one of my favorite shows, and so that basically counts as rewatching. So I haven't been watching any new movies, but I do have some more solid plans to watch a couple things next week, so we'll see how that goes. Anyways, I think that's all I have, and thanks for sticking through my rambly little Friday reads. I hope everyone's doing well. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll chat soon. Take care. Bye.